Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with the smack habit. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to the intro. This is a very good one. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate the support. I'm very humbled by it. So are you guys ready? I'm going to tell you a story. It's kind of a tragic story, but this is how it is when you grow up in the streets and in a lifestyle that just takes a hold of you. Sometimes you just can't shake it. You can't get away. You know, we hear a lot of these redemption stories, a lot of people that get away from gangs, that go to the other side, that drop out or whatever. People that just grow up, they mature, they get a family, they get a good old lady, a good woman. And I always say, man, the definition of a man is based off of the woman he chooses, right? If you choose a hoe, then your life's gonna be hoish, right? If you choose a good woman, that cares for you and that the teamwork makes the dream work style, then that's what it's going to be, man. She's going to motivate you and push you, right? But in this story I'm about to tell you, there was a lot of dark treachery, a lot of bad, a lot of mistakes that were made, a lot of bad choices. And it was crazy to having known this man, and he just recently passed away. So trip out on this story, right? Now, I'm not going to say his name, due to the fact that I'm going to respect his family's wishes. I'm going to respect his family and him. But I'm going to tell you where he was from, and I'm going to tell you about our interactions. So when I pulled up to Fred C. Nellis in the Youth Authority, I'm not going to lie to you. I was very aware of my surroundings. I understood and knew at that point it was going to be all bad for me. I was from Northern California. I was in a southern facility. There wasn't very many Norteños that had ever passed through those gates. And the Southsiders were not going to allow us to lay our head without a lump on it, right? Exactly. There was going to be drama. And pulling up first day, within hours, we had our first riot. Okay. Next day, we had another one. It was just so many things going on. And I knew I was an intricate part of that puzzle. Like every time I went to the school area, every time I was out for a visit, church, whatever thing that I went to, there was going to be drama because Southerners were not having it. And there were some that were just trying to program and go home and do their thing. And to us, they figured that we weren't their enemy. We were from way up north. They didn't know who we were. They never seen us. And they just didn't care. Okay. All they cared about was their enemigos, which were guys coming from the streets that did something bad to them or to their peoples. Those who they were focused on, right? Now, there was some that were very political. They were striving. They wanted to earn their stripes. And what better to earn your stripes as a Southsider than on Norteños? Well, I met one guy, okay? In particular, I could tell just meeting him by the way he carried himself, his persona, who he was in there, the type of juice he had by the COs or YCs or whatever they were called at that time, GSs and YCs in the Youth Authority. I could just tell that this man carried himself different from the rest. He just had that magnetic personality where other people were drawn to him, and you could tell he was no joke without having to hear the punchline. If you did hear the punchline, you got punched out and they were putting a line around you. That's how vicious this guy was. So I get to a compa, a building called Cleveland, and I went from the reception. I went from NRCC to Nellis to the reception that was, I believe, Truman. And every compa there in Nellis is named after a president, right? So then they snatch me up and they send me with 6 or 7 other Northerners to Cleveland. Now, there was already Norteños there, so the program was kind of set up. So immediately upon our arrival, the homies get at us and they're like, look, this is what it is. This is our table. And it kind of, and I'm going to just tell the truth here, man. I don't care who likes it or who doesn't. This is the facts. In YA, you had Cadillac chairs. You had the big brown chairs. There was fake leather, right? There was rows of them. Certain people, certain groups sat in certain rows. That's just the way it worked out, the way it was. Everything's politics. Everything is, there was a lot of YA games being played, but everyone had their rows. When I got to Cleveland, the Norteños did not have a chair. That's just the truth. I know there's a lot of dudes, we're not punks, we're not suckers. No, but the truth is, and I lived it, bro, so I can tell you, we did not have chairs on that first compa. The Norteños were basically to the side on some metal tables because there was no chairs available for the Norteños. And the ones that were there, there was not enough of them to establish a foothold in a fight for a chair. See, there you had to fight for yours, right? And for whatever reason, they decided they weren't going to fight for them chairs. It wasn't that serious. They wanted to accumulate numbers and then move, and then gradually. That was not my mentality. I went there believing that my cause, the people I was struggling and fighting for, were by far more superior than everyone else. That was my mentality, the way I was taught, the way the OGs gave me the game, right? We didn't stand for no bullshit. We didn't take no shit from anyone. If we wanted something, we went up there and we handled our business for it. We fought for it like men, right? Even though we were young boys at the time. So my first antenna situation, my ears went up, my antennas went up when I realized we're sitting on metal tables. And my mentality was, look, man, body for body. They're either going to catch me or I'm going to catch them, but I want to get back up north so I can get visits, so I can be around my real homies, so I can be around my family. I didn't want to be there in Southern California doing time. I didn't want to be around a whole bunch of dudes I didn't care for, didn't care for me. I didn't like to have to look over my shoulder all day long and see the looks and the disrespect and the people whispering about me, right? Like I was some alien from a fucking different planet. And this is what was happening every day. These are the stories that a lot of dudes won't tell you because they're too busy trying to talk about their W's instead of their L's. So when I get there, Norteños are sitting on a fucking metal table. So I sat right along with them on the metal table. But I asked a question from a homeboy from Hayward, Conejo, who was kind of like the OG homie there, the most seasoned out of us. He was about 17 years old. So he was the older homeboy. I'm not one to bite my tongue. Bro, this metal's cold. I said, why are we sitting here? He was like, bro, we're waiting till we get a foothold, till we get more homeboys, and then we can make a move, press these dudes, and take a row. And I was like, man, as a Norteño, shouldn't we been doing that anyways? Anyways, that's another story. Where I was on the metal tables, right? So I kind of was trying to figure out as a youngster who was doing what, right? I realized that the majority of the dudes that were on that compa were either Southsiders or Crips. Now, there was one Crip in particular, rest his soul, man, rest in peace, little Mikey Meadows, that had a lot of influence there. He was the smallest dude I ever ran into in Y, besides Negro from Pomona 12th Street, who was a smaller dude too. But this guy was just a small little Crip, and his Cripping game was different, right? Because he was on his shit. He was from A-Tray Gangsta Crips, rest in peace to Tiny Solo. Me and him became good friends in there. And I realized he had a vast influence on the Crips. And at that time, we were having dudes that were defecting, or not defecting, but they were becoming CXIVers. So we had a loose alliance with certain Crips, more from Northern California, but there were some Southern California Crips that were sympathetic to our cause. They were sympathizers, meaning that, hey, they understood we were under the gun there, we were outnumbered, and they didn't like to see bully tactics. So a lot of the Crips, man, and the Bloods, there wasn't very many Bloods, like 2 or 3 on the compa, but the Crips, man, they were cool with us. They always said, we got you, we got you, we got you. And they did, man. They looked out with sopas. They looked out with hygiene products. Just, it was cool. Well, there's a Southsider in particular. There was 2 of them, right? And you could tell right from the gate, one of them was a little bit more charismatic than the others. He was the one making moves. He was going around that compa. He was slinging things. You could tell he had it going on. We ended up having a little conflict of interest over a fucking disposable camera, to which I had to get off with the homeboy from Barrio Holistierra from Hollister. Me and him ended up fighting over that shit because he told on me. That's just the truth. He didn't tell on me to the cops or put me in any bad situation, testify or nothing, but he told on me to the Southsiders, like, hey, he's the one that got your camera. When in fact, I was just holding it for him. Anyways, that dude had influence, right? He was from Dead End Harpies. And I remember him walking around, man, doing his thing. And I kind of admired him low key, right? Because I was like, man, this is what I'm striving for, to have some type of influence, to be outspoken, to be a leader in my community of Norteños. Like, that's what I was looking at. But then at the end of the day, I understood that this dude right here we had nothing in common. I was from up north. He was from down south. I had to keep my fucking shirt on anything. He could take his, like, there was a lot of differences. So my struggle was going to be a little bit more major than his was, because he kind of fell into his place. Being bigger, he had a bigger size, man, being well known throughout the juvenile halls and the other Ys that he went to. He was seasoned. He had come from, I believe, Basel. This dude was the man. But oh no, he wasn't. There was another dude, and I'll tell you, he was from Norwalk, right? Now, anyone that knows the history of Norwalk, they are pretty hated, man. Norwalk gets a lot of grief from a lot of different people. I don't know if it's because of how they move or what they do, man. But Norwalk is not loved by very many Southerners, right? They just do their thing. I ran into a lot of dudes from Norwalk. There's going to be a couple different stories involved here. But this dude was that one. You could tell he ran that compa. He ran that whole youth authority with an iron fist. He was the shot caller of that youth authority. He had vast influence, man. That dude could leave the building. That dude could go out to the yard, whatever he wanted. That dude in the school area had about 30, 40 Southsiders around him. He was dictating programs. That dude was a serious shot caller there. So I kept my eyes on him because I knew, right? So one day I'm sitting in the day room and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, man. I'm going to fight. I'm tired of sitting on this cold ass metal tables. I'm going to sit in this chair right here. And I don't give a fuck. If someone comes out and they want that smoke, they're going to get that smoke. I thought I was a little badass and knucklehead. It was what it was, right? So I'm sitting down, posted up. Tiny Solo, he used to be a tier tender, so he's coming out sweeping, right? And he sees me and he's like, hey, bro, I wouldn't sit in that chair if I was you. I said, why? Just about the time they did Daybroom release, right? I was out there because I had come back from medical. So I was just like, man, I'm going to sit. Because when I came back, the YC told me, it was a lady, she told me, hey, you might as well just stay in the day room. I'm releasing Daybroom right now. Might as well stay out there. So I should have just went to the metal table, right? That was my spot, designated spot. But then I got the wild hair in the ass, right? The Wes Watson 128G in the ass. And I decided, hey, I'm going to stay right here and fuck what they're talking about. I don't care. And I knew it was the Southerners' little area, but I was like trying to pick a fight. The stupid ass that I was, right? So now this was a situation that had come after the whole disposable camera thing, right? Meaning there was a disposable camera that came up missing. One of the homeboys from Hollister, he had snatched it because he seen a Southsider stash it, right? He gave it to me to hold. I didn't know no better. Shit, all right, I got it. I didn't know where it came from at that point. This Southsider was that dude from Harpies. He was walking around asking people if they knew. That dude from Hollis ended up saying, yeah, man, he got it, right? Somehow, some way, man, it was discovered. And they were talking about I owe $1,500 and all that over a disposable camera. I said, man, you ain't getting none of that, right? I couldn't do that if I wanted to, man. My mom's is a single mother on welfare. Yeah, you got me fucked up. I wasn't getting money on my books, let alone I'm going to put money on other people's books. I had to fight for everything I had. And why I could tell you right now, in the whole time I was there, no one ever sent me money. Not one time. Not one time in CYA in almost 7 years did I ever get a money order for canteen from anybody. Couldn't ask moms. Moms was doing her own thing, right? She had the kids to take care of, and I just wouldn't put that burden on her. I put enough burden on her by getting incarcerated, right? So, yeah, the struggle was real. Everything I had to hustle. I had to work. I had to get this or that, right? That's just how it was. Okay, that's the fucking truth. You know, well, you could get a job in there and get canteen. That's how I got mine. Or other homeboys would throw something, you know what I'm saying, look out for me or whatever. But that's just how it was, man. You feel like a poop butt in there when it's like that. The homies are looking at you like, damn, you ain't got shit. Nah, I ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens when you're in the streets running away and doing crime and committing murders and acting stupid. You know, you're going to find out that you don't got it like that. Even Blueface, who was locked up, said that people started falling off after 2 years. He had the money but couldn't put it on his own books. People don't want to go to Walmart. They said people don't want to go write a money order out and do all that. Nah, they just don't got the time. They're living, and you're living in there. So anyways, this dude's like, you're going to pay me $1,500. I'll just fight you, bro. You know what I mean? Even though you're bigger than me, I'll just fight you. That's just how that goes. So anyways, I'm sitting in this chair, right? And what came out of that was I ended up fighting my own homeboy, going to the hole for 17 days, coming out. And that Southsider was like, I ain't even tripping, bro. You know what I'm saying? I realized what's going on. He was sympathetic to my plight because I told him straight up, I ain't got money, bro. I ain't got family to look out. We do what we do. You know, I know you're a Southerner anyways. You don't like me anyways. And he was like, nah, at least you have heart to admit. You know what I'm saying? My bad. And that was that. They got their shit back, so they weren't tripping. So I'm sitting down, right? Boom. Like, fuck it, man. I'm tired of being around these corny ass homeboys that I was around. There was only a few that I fucked with. The rest of them, I was seeing them keeping their shirts on, and certain things I was seeing that I didn't like. And I know Northenians are going to watch this and get upset, but this is the truth, right? So I'm sitting there with a different type mentality, like a homie mentality. And like, fuck it, I'll just fight one of these dudes and get out of here. And this dude comes out, the dude I'm talking about, right? And he sees me, and I'm in his chair. Everyone had kind of their own chairs. And out of all the fucking chairs I could pick in the day room, it happened to be his. So I'm sitting down right there, and my eyes get big when I see him, and everyone's looking at me. All the Southsiders kind of just stood. None of them sat down. They're looking at him. They're looking at me. They're looking at me. They're looking at him. I'm looking at his fist. He's looking at my face. I'm looking at the cops like, help, guard. and he sits down next to me. And all the Southerners moved to the back rows. The white dude, there was like 3 white dudes. They sat in the back rows. They just sit your ass on the middle table with the Northerners, right? And the woods were like, why, brother? What do we do? Just go over there, right? So me and this dude sat. No one sat in our whole row, and I'm just sitting there. And the homies are looking at me. Northerners are like, what the fuck are you doing, stupid? I'm looking at them, but you're not. For reals, right? So I'm sitting there, and he sits next to me. He's like, nah, don't get up, bro. Don't get up. He's like, what do they call you? And I told him shit. He's like, so you got heart, right? I said, I'm just tired of this shit, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I came to do my time. I'm doing how I do it, man, but I'm not no sucker, man. I ain't no punk. He's like, nah, I respect it. He said, that's your chair. That's your chair from now on. But that comes with the price, bro. I said, man, I ain't got no money. I told your homeboys, I ain't got nothing, bro. I got fists. Fists and a chin, man. That's all I got, bro. I could fight it out, or you can knock me out. He said, you know what? You don't know who I am, huh? I said, I figured I know who you are, bro. I don't know you, but I know who you are. And he said, let me tell you something about me, bro. He says, I'm doing a life sentence already. And everyone's looking at me right now like, well, I'm not taking off, but I respect your get down. He says, so this is what's going to happen, bro. I'm going to push this chair. We're going to push these next 3 chairs right here over to your guys' side. You guys got some chairs. You know what I mean? Because of what you did. And I was like, Serio? And he was like, look, but also remember this, bro. I ain't no sucker. I ain't no punk. If I see you guys get punked by the blacks or the whites or anybody, the whites wasn't going to do that. They didn't fuck with us, right? But if I see the brothers over there take the chairs, bro, then I'm a whack your ass. I'll murk you, right? And I should have took flight right there, but the way he said it was so smooth. And like I said, he was a magnetic force. He was someone like just super serio, okay? He was about 18 years old at the time, so he was older than me. So I've always respected people that were older than me. So I'm like, all right, sure enough, he pushed the 3 chairs. The Southsiders all talking to him. He's telling them, ese, right? And that's it. So I ended up watching this dude's moves, and I seen the way he was conducting himself. You could see he was a shot caller. He was that man, right? We go to the school area. I have a homeboy named Bad Boy from Barrio Franklin, 36th Street, right? Bad Boy was no joke. Bad Boy's different now, but when he was in YA, his mentality was get off where he was mad at. He was always angry. He had a chip on his shoulder. He's ready to fuck everything and everybody up all the time, and he had major hands, right? So the Southsiders knew. They knew who like had hands, who didn't. They kind of was like very cautious of certain dudes, right? Him, Soldier Boy from 6th Street, Stockton, a couple other dudes, Shadow from Richmond. These guys had hands, right? And me, I didn't have hands, right? I was just there with 2 hands, but 2 hands are better than 1. So it's good. I got a hand, but it doesn't work for that. But I could fight though, but not like I was dangerous knocking you out, but I'll fight you though, right? I was a youngster that would handle my business. And that's all you need is to have heart. You don't need to beat everyone up, but you need to pull up, right? And so we're in the square here one time, and something kicks off, and that dude is walking. He's not even paying attention. He don't even give a fuck. He had so much juice in there. All right, could be happy. He's still walking to his class like, fools ain't going to get off on me because I'll smack him. And the homeboy Bads ran up, and these dudes started chunking him. And Bad Boy up until that point, man, him, Spookio, Soldier Boy, they didn't take a lot of L's. They didn't. Soldier Boy never took one. Not one. Not a single one. In fact, I'm going to be doing a video about him eventually, how he beat up your favorite rapper. You guys are going to trip on who that is, especially in Northern California. But anyway, so he's fucking getting off with this dude. This dude's putting hands on him, man. Like, literally. This dude was no fucking punk, right? So it doesn't make you a gangster because you got hands or this, and that. It's just what it was. So anyways, I get out. Years later, man, I'm in prison, right? I'm in prison. I'm in New Corcoran. And, excuse me, I was in Old Corcoran. And I see this dude, right? I see him. He's older now. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm walking the track, and he's with a couple other Southsiders, and they're doing the thing. Now, mind you, I hadn't seen him since YA. When I left Nellis, he was still that man. He ended up going to YTS, and then from there, he go to prison, right? And so I do what I do. I live how I live, man. I end up going from there to Preston, to Carl Holton, to paroling, to baby mama drama, to Northenial business, to all that, right? We end up in the same prison yard, man. And I'm walking by, and I see him, and I recognize him. But I look different now, too. And he says my name, my old YA name. And I look, and he's like, what's up, Ese? Shit, it's been a minute. How you doing? He recognized me. Now, remember, mind you, I was just a youngster. He's like, hey, you still got your chairs or what? I said, I still got my chairs, bro, right? And he's laughing. He's like, that's right, man. That's right. What you in here for? I told him and shit. You know, and he didn't do it like hitting me up because Southsiders can't do that. But just, you know, on some acquaintance shit. So this is what ends up happening to that dude. He ends up getting out. He's big time from his neighborhood, right? Very big time. He gets into something with the dude that gets out of prison. And this is the story that was told to me by his primo. It's verified, right? So he ends up going to Mexico on the run. He ends up smacking some shit and having to go to Mexico. And while up there, he he gets affiliated with a certain cartel, right? And I don't really talk about cartel business, but for this story, I'm going to tell you, he gets associated and affiliated with a cartel out of Tijuana, right? TJ. And he becomes, because he's on the run and because of who he is, and he's a Southsider, and he's actually someone at this point, like someone in the game, right? A camarada, like he wasn't a Southsider anymore. He was a Sureno. This fool goes over there and starts smacking everything moving and actually becomes a hitman for the cartel, right? Does this for about 10 years. He's up there doing it. And eventually, the bullshit of his past caught up to him. And some dude who I guess he had fucking did something too in LA, his family's up there and they got ties in with the cartel as well. And they set him up, man. And they end up smacking this dude, right? This dude, to me, was the hardest Southsider I ever met. His interactions with me, and why? Not because he was cool and because he did that, but this dude was relentless. Like, he was pushing the envelope in the youth authority, especially in Nellis. And I know Nellis gets a bad look because Northerners were there. As far as Southerners go, right? I know, like in Paso, they didn't like it because Northerners were there. And there was a point where they wanted to drop the whole Nellis leva. It wasn't because of that dude. That dude was pushing the issues. You know what I mean? He told me one time, man, we were in the compound. He was like, hey, bro, you're going to go to school. You're probably going to get smacked. But you know, it just is what it is. I said, well, fuck it. I'm ready. At least he gave me the heads up. He would do that. I don't know. He took a liking to me. But the reason I say he's the hardest, I don't mean the hardest like in the world. I've seen dudes stab dudes and all kinds of shit, right? But he was very vicious and very well known from his neighborhood. And then he went to Mexico. And like I say, man, when you're doing a lot of bad things to bad people, bad shit happens to you. It ended up catching up to him, and he ended up getting caught up, right? He ended up getting smacked. Now, let me tell you guys something, man. I want to tell you guys another story about a dude from Norwalk, right? Because that's where he was from. I was in this particular prison. I'm not going to tell you which one, right? But everyone in this story has been convicted. They're already gone. So one guy's dead, and that's just what it is. And I remember there was a dude from Norwalk, little short, stocky dude was with the business. You could tell he was always busting down, getting it. We're in the compa, the building, right? And when new arrivals come, when new people come, everyone's at their door looking, see who it is. The skinny dude walks in, man. He has horns real big on his head. Southerner, classic Southerner, bald-headed, horns on his head, pants pulled. You could tell he's a Southsider, right? So my celly's like, hey, who's that? I saw, that's one of them things, right? That's what we used to say. I'm just being real today. Today's truth, all truth. I said, one of them things. That's what Northerners call Southsiders, things, right? It's one of them things. He's like, what does he look like? I see horns, whatever. He's writing it down and shit. You know what I mean? We did all these, target shit. Anyways, no big deal. He walks in, but I could tell he looks like he's a shoe or a whole kick out or whatever he is. By the way he's walking around, he's a little timid. Usually Southerners, they got a lot of bravado. They like their shit don't stink. They walk in with their chest all peacock, like, what's up, and everyone knows them. No one's talking to this dude. He looks a little disheveled, right? He looks a little nervous. I'm not really keen in on. I'm just seeing him, man. It's none of my business. So he walks in, goes to his fucking cell, it's whatever. It's just after breakfast time. So usually the way it worked in that facility was you go to chow about 5, 6 in the morning, right? Depending on which building they release first for chow release. And by the time chow's over, after they run every building, you got about an hour before morning yard, before they kick you out from morning yard, and everyone's going to go, right? So me and my celly were in there getting ready for yard. And when you go to yard, you can take your laundry bag and whatever you're going to take out there. And we take our laundry bag because if you go to the store, they got the store right there. You can go grab it, the laundry bag. Boom. That's how you walk back. So to see someone with a laundry bag over their shoulders, it's nothing, right? So anyway, strip out, they release yard. Boom. They're cracking every cell. Me and my celly step out. There's a couple of homeboys from Sawmill right there. They're our neighbors. What's up, bro? Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. We mob together 4 deep because what happens is a 270 design. There's the tower, basically the control center's up top, and then there's a sally port on the bottom. So you have to walk through some doors, and there's like a little small hallway to the outside door, right? And they usually, the 2 cops will post up outside the door, the main door outside. So from there, from the meantime, in between time, from that little Sally Port, it's a dangerous situation. It's like cattle being herded through there, right? Now, everyone's respectful. They're not bumping into each other. They're just kind of walking out one or two by two. But sometimes there's a lot of people trying to get out to that yard because they're trying to run to the fucking, see if they got a package or canteen or whatever. That's how it is in prison. So me and the homeboys are walking, and all of a sudden I hear, ooh, ooh. And I look, this big old Southern, I'm not going to tell you where he's from. He grabbed that, his laundry bag. Like I said, for a person to have a laundry bag, it's nothing. Everyone does it. He has it around that dude's neck, the dude with the horns that just got there. And this dude from Norwalk is getting off where he's mad at. Wow, wow, wow. I remember like, oh shit, I'm looking around to make sure they're not moving on us as a diversion tactic. And it was nothing. And I kept walking. And the homeboy was like, damn, as soon as we stepped out, down, everyone down. They did with however they would have to deal with it, right? They snatched the dudes up or whatever. They were on them. I say that to say this. That left a lasting impression in my mind because it was something I seen in a high definition right in front of me. And it made me realize that the Southerners out there in Norwalk move different. I've had a lot of interaction with them. I've seen them. I've done time with them since a kid, man. But still, and even seeing that dude I met in YA that became a cartel member, he actually became an established cartel member. He was doing his own thing. And like I said, a crime of his past caught up to him, right? That dude was he was a sick one. He was a real one. Anyways, I talked to his family the other day, man. They gave me the green light to say this story. And I appreciate it as long as I kept his name up out the mix. So those that know who he is, know who he is. If you're from Norwalk, and those that don't, you don't. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. This video is being sponsored by Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Central Valley in Turlock, go tap into the Barrio and get you a little something icy. Bang, bang.